I'm here with my new friend Invictus. How are you, man?
Hey, I'm doing great.
I got a challenge for you. You put a post up a little while ago talking about how you need to chill out a little bit.
I got to. Let's do it. Yeah.
Here we go.
Making things with your hands that you can use and that people can pass down to their kids and all the intricacies about it. I love it.
All right, Invictus. I'm so grateful you're here, man. So I was watching your Instagram the other day. I came across a post where you were talking about how you are incredibly structured. It seems like you're constantly, you put processes in place and you're organized. Totally. You're talking about that. And in the video, you're talking about balancing it with loosening up.
Oh, yeah.
Being human. Yeah. And that's a challenge for you.
Definitely.
It's also a challenge for me, which I really related. I loved watching that video because it was very relatable to me. I also get very serious about life and self-improvement, which we're going to talk a bit about here. Sure. But also, I want to loosen up. So let's loosen up together.
Let's do it.
We're going to play a game.
Let's loosen up. Yeah.
All right. So you go first. You're going to pull up your card. And there's a few phrases on there. Just do one at a time. Okay. So you're going to read one phrase, and I'm trying to guess that phrase. Okay. And then we'll switch.
Cool. Let's do it.
All right. Let's go.
Okay.
Here we go.
The lights are on, but there's nobody home.
The lights are on, but there's nobody home.
There you go.
Dude, you're good at this. All right. My turn. All right. Here you go. What to do about nothing?
What to do about nothing?
Much to do about nothing.
Much to do about nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
You
cool.
got it.
Mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the fairest on the wall?
Mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the fairest of them all?
There you go. Here you go.
That's great. All right. Here you go. I saw that for mankind. A giant leap for mankind. Sorry, I said it wrong. I saw set her man. A giant leap for mankind.
I think you said a small step for man, a giant leap for mankind.
Yeah, that's it.
Sick. Cool. Gaggy guggy giggle gookers.
Say it again. I didn't get it.
Gaggy guggy eagle gookers.
Gaggy gaggy giggle googers. That's all I hear.
Hey, hi, eagle gookers.
I don't have a clue.
You want me to tell you?
Yeah, tell me. Tell me what it.
Baby buggy beagle.
Oh
baby buggy
my
beagle.
gosh.
Oh, boppers, not
okay.
bloopers.
That's all right.
That's cool.
All right, here we go.
Yep.
All right. I'm gonna make him an offer I can't refuse.
I have no clue.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
Oh. I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse.
Yeah.
Sick. Okay, and last one. Read your last received text message.
Read your last received text message.
That was a game. That was good.
I'm
on top of the world.
You got it.
Yes.
Nice work, man.
Awesome.
All right, that was fun.
Yep.
So, Invictus, thanks for being here with me, man.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Good to be here.
We got connected through another guest that was on the show, Lance.
That's right.
Lance Cassidy. In fact, you started following me, I think, once we started releasing some of his, the clips from his conversation.
Totally.
So, and then as soon as I looked at your profile on Instagram and saw all the cool leatherwork stuff that you're doing and the shoe builds and stuff, and then I heard you talking about some of the ideas that govern your life. I was like, oh man, I want to talk to this guy.
Yeah.
So I was so excited to get you on. So, talk to me a little bit about. Let's start. Just tell me about. So one of the things that caught my eye was this idea that you're really structured.
Yeah.
You put a lot of focus on this structure. I would love to know for yourself, just give me a little bit of background for yourself. Where'd you grow up? Let me ask it this way. What's something that we should know about you that help us understand who you are today?
Well, I'll start with it. I grew up in the San Fernando Valley in California, so a little bit north of Hollywood, LA area. So it's a box of an area. And something unique, I think, is my dad, he immigrated from Nigeria when he was whatever age, I think 19, 20, whatever age it was, in college age.
Yeah.
And I think that is a big contributor to how structured I've become. I wasn't always this way. I kind of fought him in my young childhood. Who doesn't? But I started to see like, oh, he knew what he was talking about. And so I think I might have overused and over ramped that now. So, but he's totally helped me with this structure and organization. And yeah, it's amazing how you can fight someone for so long on something and then realize, oh, Dad, this was sick. This was awesome. Thank you for instilling this in me and continuing to when I said, I don't want to. Oh man, I just want to skate. I just want to chill. I'm going to play video games with my brothers. Nope. Work first, play later. That's what he would always say. So
how old are you?
34.
You're 34. Okay, great. So tell me about what is it that you now see every day in your everyday life, like in your leather working, which we'll get to, in the full-time job that you have, even in your family. What did you get from him that you're super grateful for? Like, how do you notice it show up?
Well, because there are so many things going on, like kids' dance recitals or soccer games, it's almost impossible to have anything happen without that structure. And so I'm always behind the scenes like this overseeing eye of like, all right, let's do this so this can happen, so this can happen, so that can happen, so that can be a success. And success could mean we get the kids dressed on time, or we get to wherever we're going to go on time, or we've, things like that. And, or, hey, pick that up so no one doesn't step on that, so it doesn't spill, so we don't have to, that kind of thinking. So just throughout my day, throughout my life that way.
Got it. So you're married?
Yes.
You got kids?
Yeah, 2 kids. Been married for 6 years now. So
that's amazing. How old are your kids?
So my daughter, she's 4, and my son, he's 16 and a half months now. Almost 17 months. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you love being a dad?
It's so cliche because it's like, I never was one like, I don't want to have kids. I'm like, oh yeah, I want to be a dad someday. It's way better than even I thought it was going to be. It's so hard, but it's so fun, and it's irreplaceable. It's one of those things where I'm just like, yes, I'm happy that this is my life. Mm-hmm. I'm so blessed because they teach me something every day. So
yeah. Have you thought about how you're going to, like, you talk about your dad and the things that you've learned from your dad? Are there things that you want to do that you learned from your dad, and are there things that you don't want to do that you learned from your dad?
What do you mean by that?
Like, I don't know about you, but for me, there's some really powerful things that I learned from my dad, meaning the way that he was with me. My dad also taught me to work. I mean, that was his, I now see as an adult that was his expression of love to me. Right. Was like to teach me how to work, because he knew that was going to be so I think he knew that was going to be so valuable for me. Yeah. Or maybe he just didn't want me to be a degenerate or whatever. Yeah. I don't know how much foresight he thought about that. And there are things that there are ways that he taught me to work that I'm absolutely using to teach my kids. I think examples of that are, and you talk a little bit about this, but work first, or prioritize, get the things done that are going to make a difference in your life that you're going to be proud of at the end of the day, and then go play. Yes. And or loosen up. And so that was really powerful for me, and I want to teach that to my kids. There are things that there are ways that my dad did it that I didn't like. So work for him was our only connection. Right. So if we weren't working together, which I actually worked for my dad for about 3-4 years through high school and just after high school, if we weren't working, we had no connection. It was completely turned off. No, he was watching sports on the TV. You don't bother him, that sort of thing. And so that's all I'm asking is, like, are there things that are there ways of teaching your kids work that you want to pass on, and ways that you don't?
Absolutely. And I think, Carrie, my wife, we talked about, our upbringings. And I think the cool thing is when you're in the hot seat of being a parent, you can actually cherry pick. You don't have to take all of it or reject all of it. Yeah. You're like, hey, I love these things from my dad. I love these things from my mom. I'm going to leave these few things, and I'm going to put my spin on the things that I didn't take. And I think one of the things for for our kids and me being a dad is, yeah, still apply the work first, play later, but fulfill that promise of the play later. And that's the thing. Hey, Maya, our daughter, let's pick up your toys before we go out and have breakfast. Let's do these 3 things, and then let's go have a blast. So she can see like, all right, I'm applying this structure to myself, but dad is also playing with it. Or like, we're actually going to go do these fun things. And so really just is
that something that was missing in your growing up? Was it always work?
I was going to say, no, it wasn't. There was a lot of fun. I think one of the things that I this is not to knock anything, but I'm also going to apply being supportive of what my kids want to do,
how they want to play,
what they want to, and even what they want to do growing up. So it's like, that's a whole skateboarding thing. That's a whole nother thing. But if my daughter wants to do ballet, absolutely. I'm not going to be like, oh, well, you should do this because I like this, or I don't think this is going to be something that that's going to pan out for you. So I'm just going to let them go and support them with whatever they want to do growing up.
Man,
so.
this is speaking right to my heart. I know this isn't a parenting.
No,
this isn't a parenting podcast, but this is so. I mean, this is a holistic life podcast from my perspective, because how can we create in the world and be entrepreneurs if I don't think we can do it successfully unless we're holistically successful.
Yeah.
And success is defined by each person. I get it, but my definition of success is that holistic experience. And this, being a dad, being a husband, is such a big part of it. But I remember as a kid, even as a teenager, just wishing so badly that my parents would just come watch me skate.
Oh,
and
yes.
we have this in common, that we both grew up skating, and it was definitely looked at as a waste of time, or just like something juvenile, just something.
Yeah, like, when are you going to be done so you can move on to this? Like, no, I love this. That's
right. And now I'm noticing, and this is just me being very candid and vulnerable. So my kids are a bit older than yours. I got a 17-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 10-year-old, and I notice myself not wanting to be interested in what they're interested in and dismissing it. Particularly my middle daughter, she's so talented, and she loves makeup, and she loves nails, and and she's brilliant at them. Like, when I step back out of my judgments of it, I'm like, wow, you're really brilliant in this. You're really talented in it. Right. But I want to make up that it's a waste of time, or, all that. And it's a challenge. So I'm just saying, like, in moments I find myself like, oh yeah, tell me more, like, get interested in it. And I know that that's what they want. I read something the other day that said, I thought was really interesting, that kids' love language is play.
Yeah.
You think about that, like, 5 love languages book. I don't know how true
I've heard
all
about
that
it.
stuff
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
But that was so interesting to me. And I think that's so true, is like, kids' love language is play. If you want to show them that you love them, play with them in the way that they want to play. So anyway, I just am narrating back to you what I'm hearing in what you're talking about. So talk to me about the experience of having an immigrant father. What's like, you don't know my experience, I don't know your experience, but there's some assumptions you could probably make about what mine was. How is yours different? Like, what wouldn't I know about your experience?
And just going to the cellular level of everything we just discussed, it was hard because I didn't understand. And I think there was a natural comparative thing that started to develop with, like, what my dad would let me do versus what I saw my friends' parents would let them do. Yeah. And it's, he had to work his tail off to get here. And as I got older, I'm like, holy smokes, you moved to a different country. I can't imagine the work. I'm building shoes, and this guy moved across the world, and so I understand where it came from. But when you're young, you don't have the maturity to appreciate. You're just like, hey, my buddies are out skating, and I'm in here doing my homework. My buddies are out going to the mall, and I'm here vacuuming the living room. And so, but I think I don't even blame him at all. I understand that, like, the work ethic it took for him to come here and to provide the life that I have. That was nothing. That was like the norm. That wasn't like, oh, hey, you're an outstanding worker. Like, this is what you have to do. And so just that work difference and the expectations, and I'll say another thing, just meeting his expectations he owns so many businesses and he's so successful. That was, as I became a teenager and like early adulthood, I'm like, will I even fill his shoes, And I'm more, Yeah, I mean, he's an engineer, and we have some of those same qualities. Like, I love to build stuff, and I love to figure out how things work. But the success thing was like, am I going to be an engineer? Am I going to be a doctor? And I'm not interested in those things. I'm more passionate on the creative side, and so that was also hard, trying to fill his shoes and fill his expectations.
Do you think that was a true expectation of his? Was for you to fill his shoes?
No.
Not
now. I don't. I don't. I think, there was a push. Hey, be a doctor, be a lawyer, and that he might have said that. And I don't want to speak for him. And he could, if he sees this, he can correct me. But looking back at it now, it's what that translates to now is do your best. Yeah. So it may have been figurative or real. Like, hey, be a doctor, be a lawyer, be an engineer, but really just do your best and be your best. And I've actually seen my dad be a lot more supportive in my creative things.
Yeah.
But yeah, those expectations, maybe I put it on myself.
Yeah.
So
I think so much of what we experience as a kid from our parents is what we put on ourselves.
Right.
It's the story that we make up of what's there. I'm not saying there isn't a room for improvement each generation in our parenting, but I know that I put a ton of stuff on myself.
Right.
So let's talk about your leatherworking. I'm so interested in what you're up to. So your dad owned a lot of businesses. He was an entrepreneur.
He still is. He owns a lot of businesses. I don't know details to a lot, but he's always traveling. He has houses everywhere. Just super successful, super awesome. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's first off just talk about your leatherworking and the place that it holds in because that's what caught my attention. And I was like, oh, dude, this guy's like killing it in leather crafting.
Yeah.
And you are. The work that you do is beautiful. I was so interested to find out when we talked that it's not your full-time gig. And maybe you don't want it to be. Do you have aspirations to be an entrepreneur or business owner?
Yes,
you do.
I do. But I want to make sure that I love what I'm doing and I keep that love. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean that like leatherworking, 90% of it I'm frustrated. And I'm just going to be completely transparent. You're frustrated. Anything you put love towards, there's going to be bouts of frustration. I got to get this to work. But that frustration is really passion in disguise. But I don't want to ever get to a point where it's like, man, I'm drowning and I have to, if I'm not, doing it how I want to do it, I don't know that I'd still do it, And I've had friends say, oh man, you should put this on Amazon, or oh man, you should get a sewing machine to make it faster. And it's like, I don't want it to be faster, and I have to live with those outcomes. So if it's not faster, I got to figure out how much of a business do I want to make. And so that's kind of been the wedge that I've been in for 3 years now. 3 of the 5 years, I'm like, I'm getting better. Of course, sales are awesome. But I just love doing this. So however I have to tweak this to where I can just stay loving it is where I want to keep it. And whatever happens, happens.
Okay, got it. I want to talk about this because I think this is a really poignant topic for a lot of people as they think about starting their business, especially, some people just start businesses just because they love business, right?
Right.
And they'll take anything and make it successful. I'm sure you know people like that. I know people like that. They're like, yeah. And you're like, what are you doing this week? And they're like, I don't know. I've got like 5 solar companies or something like that. And that's cool. And then there's this, what I see you describing as like, I love this thing so much and I want to offer it to the world.
Yep.
And hopefully the world pays for it. I was shocked to hear that you have a full-time job.
Yeah.
And I have zero judgment around that, by the way. You have a full-time job. I was certain that this leather work was your full-time gig. Like I was, when I was looking through your content, now I'm looking at it and it's clearly like late at night and you're doing this.
Or 4 in the morning.
4 in the morning. And so, well, first, can we take the shoes out?
Yeah.
Let's show the shoes.
So I have it. Yeah. Let's look at them.
This is, and for those of you that are listening to this, not watching, I'm going to try to describe it a little bit. And you should certainly go to Invictus's social media that we'll link in the description. But dude, these things are insane.
It's fun, man. It's so fun, and it's having that final product is just, or that final result is just
So describe what we're looking at, just so people who just to describe this pair of shoes. Why? Like, I'm sure every decision on this shoe was intentional.
Oh yeah.
And you don't have to go into deep detail. I'm sure you could.
I could. Yeah.
Just talk to me about what we're looking at.
So yeah. So these are like a reconstruction build of like Air Jordan 1 lows, and so you pretty much get the soles from shoes that you buy on eBay or buy on Nike. You take the uppers off and you clean them, and then you can buy patterns where you can cut out all the pieces and just assemble it together.
Okay.
So, and the cool thing is you can make it as custom as you want. You can tweak things. It's the options are limitless, really.
That's amazing. So these ones that we're looking at they're like a brown. What kind of leather would this be?
Just a chrome tan, just a standard. I don't even remember the article, but yeah, you can use anything, and then you start to learn what leathers work best and what don't work so well. And an interesting thing is, I'm one of only a few that hand stitched the entire build.
Yeah,
and that came out of necessity. I don't have space for a sewing machine, and I really just didn't want to take the time to learn, which is so contradictory because I love learning. But I'm just like, you know what? I know how to do this, and I just want to start doing it. So it's like, let's start. And so I hand stitch everything, and I punch every hole with these pricking irons is what they're called. So that also plays a part in using different leathers and how you build it. And so yeah.
So so you've said it, earlier you said you don't want to sew. You don't want to do things with a sewing machine. You want to do it by hand. What's that about? Why?
I think it vacuums back to being a kid and doing things with your hand. I don't consider it cheating, but it's like there's something powerful. It's like, dude, my hands did that. Yeah. My hands and my brain, it's the rawest form of whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, I'm just very passionate about that. I love the raw form, because of course I can do it faster by learning a sewing machine and cut down my costs and my time. But the value is the therapy is sitting there and talking with the kids and stitching up this panel, or talking to my wife, or watching a show together, or just sitting in my thoughts like, all right, we're chilling, we're doing it. And wow, looking back, it's like, dude, your hands made that, Holy smokes. So
what's something significant life-wise that leatherworking's taught you?
Patience and time management, especially with how structured I am, is learning that patience with my kids, learning that patience with being a dad and being a husband, and just staying orderly and like we talked about, finding that balance. Like, all right, so this part of the shoe, it's really intense, and then take a break, go do what you got to do. And so just the workflow, it just details and just that patience, because you can't rush it.
Yeah.
And fatherhood, you can't rush it.
Yeah.
And
can't shortcut it.
No way.
I think, I relate to that so deeply. It's just like, there's so many things that I try to shortcut.
Yeah.
And I end up, it ends up being a huge mistake. I mean, not irreparable, but it's definitely a learning opportunity when I try to shortcut it. When I try to shortcut a conversation with my daughter or something like that, it always ends up coming back in a much, like, there's a lot more work to be done there if I would have just slowed down and done it right, and been clear. So that's so interesting. So talk to me a little bit about, do you make mistakes when you're working on these things?
I've been doing leatherwork for 5 years. I've probably made 800 wallets, and I still make mistakes. And that's another learn. I'm working on who I am when I make a mistake and where my brain goes.
Yeah, that's what I want to talk to you about.
Yeah, because I will get to I have a couple shoes kind of on the, that I'm working on now, and I made a mistake. It was a cosmetic mistake, but I looked at them like, I don't like how this looks, but there's no going back. And I'm on 95% done. It's like, what do you do mentally there? And it's like, it's fine. Just start over or jot it down. And I think mistakes are a learning tool. And when you're so eager to have a great thing, you forget that it's a learning tool. And that's what I'm teaching myself. So
yeah. And how do you recover? Like, what's your process of recovering from a mistake?
It's not the end of the world. And you've shown that you've done this, so you can do it again. And that's what I need to remember. It's like I get so catastrophic with them, like, oh my gosh, like I messed up. How many hours did I spend on this? Yeah. And it's just like, just do it again. Just do it again. And having that voice is huge. Really working on, and that's what I'm training my brain to do during this is, okay, I feel a little anxious. I feel a little frustrated. I can just do it again. Yeah. Take a break. Go say hi to the kids. I can do it again.
So sunk cost really is a fallacy. Like that idea of are you familiar with sunk cost fallacy?
In a class I took probably a couple
Sure,
classes,
yeah. So sunk cost fallacy basically says that when we spend time on something, we invest time on something and it doesn't work out or it's not working out, to just keep going because you've already sunk that time into it is the fallacy.
Right.
There's also another side of the fallacy, I think, is that if we've sunk time into something and it doesn't work, then it was a waste.
Oh yeah.
And that's a less common interpretation of sunk cost fallacy, but I think it's so true. Is like there are some things that I learned in my life that showed up as like a mistake or a failure, but I don't know that I could have learned it any other way.
Right.
Any other way. And so that's my frame of recovery. Is like I always tell my clients all the time, because this comes up all the time. I coach business owners, entrepreneurs, company founders, and they're always, when we're debriefing a mistake or something that didn't go the way that they wanted to, they always describe it as wasting time. And I always say to them, there is no wasted time. Period. There's no wasted time unless we're unwilling to learn from it. That's the biggest waste of time I see.
Right.
If we're unwilling to look back, debrief it, find out what worked and what didn't work, then it's always useful.
Right.
What do you think about that?
I love it. And I'm getting a little emotional because I think I needed to hear that, because I fall into that trap. I'm sure it's common.
Oh yeah.
Like I spent 40 hours on these shoes. I have 5 hours to go roughly, and I made this mistake. But it's like, no, you were learning you were building and you were executing up until that point, and that's just a learning thing. Just don't make that mistake again. Learn from it, and there's value in that mistake. That's something I gotta keep close to the vest. So,
what's your favorite part of the process?
So this is gonna sound cliche, but the end, like being done, lacing them up, and being like, wow. And I think the reason that is because in anything that people are building or doing, the reason the end is so valuable is because of the process. Running a marathon, building a house, it's not. I mean, the house symbolizes every brick you put down, and a marathon, 26 miles represents every mile you ran, and all the training before. Today I'm running 5 miles, then 6 miles, then 7 miles. All of that is why it's so rewarding. And so when I trace all these pieces and cut them out, that's step one, and then I reinforce them, that's step two. So all of those collective things, once you have it, you're like, holy smokes, like. The road and the journey is what makes this destination so rich. So, yeah,
I relate so deep. Even as you talk about building the house. So my wife and I are really. Right now we're at my house, just so people know.
Yeah.
And this is the second mid-century house that we've purchased from the original owner.
Yeah.
And in kind of in shambles when we bought it. Right. We did another one. We did a full remodel of the inside of it. And then we bought this one almost 2 years ago. We're doing the same thing, little by little, just remodeling it, making it ours. This is the last one, by the way.
There you go.
Our marriage won't survive another one. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I got you. I got you.
But that's the reason. One of the reasons we love these houses is because we feel like at that time there was more of an emphasis on building brick by brick, building something quality, something that we will have for a really long time, something that can be meaningful to our family because of the process that went into it. I think part of what we're missing, this is going to be me sounding really preachy now and old manny and like get off my lawn.
Yeah.
But like, even when you think about house building now, you think about like track home, and I get it, man, we need it because we got a lot of people and they need to be housed. But I think concentrate less on the process of what this thing is that we're building and more just on the finished product. Like just get this thing done as quickly and cheaply as we possibly can so that we have the thing rather than let's be intentional. And that's one of the things that's so, I think I'm so attracted to what you're up to. I don't know. I keep looking at these shoes and I'm just like, oh my gosh, man. Every stitch, hundreds of stitches.
Oh yeah.
Were done by hand on this thing.
Yeah.
And that's incredible. I want to, were you going to say something? You look like you were going to say something.
Well, I just wanted to add on to what you're saying. We are probably twin brothers in another life because I feel the same way. And I've noticed that too with the housing thing. Like I was talking to my landlord, Quinn, and it's like houses are built so quick. And for me, my heart's like aching. It's like, what about the quality? And I think that's why I've stuck with my methods is like quality, longevity, but B, the process. When you hurry and blow by something, for me at least, the appreciation is at an all-time low. But when you grind, me and my buddies, we use this example. It's like if someone gave you the keys to a Ferrari, you'd love it, you'd drive it, it'd be great. But if you worked 20 years and saved up money for a Ferrari, how much more would you cherish it and take care of it? And I think, I don't know, we're just saying the same thing, but
yeah, the experience of driving it is completely different. So different. We know that. We want to make up that it's not. Right. Because as creatures of like status and desire, we want the thing now.
Yeah.
I think that's natural.
Yeah.
But when we really, I think, well, I'll speak for myself. I can't say when I look at the things that I worked for, and really put intention into, those are the things that I experience differently in life.
Yeah.
So you said on one of your social media posts that easy is a thief.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't on your Instagram. It was actually in our call.
In our call, yeah.
You said easy is a thief. What is easy stealing?
I think growth. It's so interesting because I don't ever go out of my way to make things harder so that I can, you know what I mean? But I definitely am a big advocate of don't avoid hard things. If it's hard, there's something good on the other side of it. And I think socially and just as a human species, like we want the easiest thing. We don't want to be uncomfortable. We don't want to challenge ourselves overall. But I've only found value on the other side of all of my challenges. Getting married, finishing a degree with 2 kids, working full time. And you know what I mean? Like it's so much more, kind of like the Ferrari thing we were talking about. It's so much more valuable and so I don't avoid, if something's easy and efficient, like, yeah, let's do it. I'm not going to be silly, but there's something valuable and there's something like growthy about doing something difficult. Growing pains, you're conditioning yourself, you're developing. It's like, oh, I can handle this now. Now I can handle this. Now I can handle this. And you only get there by facing those challenging things and not running from them, embracing them. So.
Yeah. When you were saying that, it hit me. It was like, I think about like dignity. All of my dignity, I think that I carry in life, and sometimes when I don't carry dignity, is like it's directly related to the challenge that I'm willing to take on.
Right.
And so when you said easy as a thief, that got me thinking. I was like, oh yeah, ease steals our dignity. I think it steals our opportunity to prove to ourselves, even if it's not proving, but just like actively keep a commitment to ourselves that we're going to do this challenging thing. And like, look, even with all the eases in the world, life is always going to offer up challenges.
Yeah.
Significant challenges, right? There really isn't any technology or there really isn't any system that can take away the challenges of, let's say, a relationship or a marriage.
That's right.
Those are always going to be there.
Yep.
And how we show up in them is how proud we're going to be of ourselves and the the mark that we've made and the dignity that we've maintained throughout the process of life. So it was so helpful for me because it like resurfaced that conversation for me.
Yeah.
I want to talk about this idea. I'm so interested because the coach in me really wants to go after this conversation you're having with yourself about being paid for something or something being a business and continuing to love it.
Yeah.
There's something to me that maybe those sound like they're in contradiction to each other for you.
It's rough because of course I think my philosophy is I want to get paid enough for what I do to be able to keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, if there's some on the side and more that I can funnel into my life and for my kids, and that's great too. But it's hard. I still struggle with finding like, what's that balance? Like, where's that line? So, yeah.
So do they feel like they're in contradiction to each other? Doing what you love and getting paid for it? Like, what's your worry?
My worry is that it's kind of like a rocking boat. It's like, all right, if it's too much, if I'm working so hard and nothing's coming of it, that can be disheartening. Because but then if it's like, oh, things are so good that I'm scrambling to get this done and I'm in over my head type deal. And so finding that, like the right amount. And I think that's what I struggle with still. It's like, what's the right amount? And I've talked to other leather crafters and how they do it. And, you can increase your prices to slow down demand a little bit. But then you don't outprice yourself and, all these equations, but I don't think they're contradictory. I think they're just hard. It's hard to tightrope walk that, it's really hard to find, that balance where you can walk that manageable line. So.
Do you have the balance right now?
No, not at all.
What's missing in the balance for you right now?
Gosh, that's a good question. Just figuring it out. Like, I know where I am now. I'd love for more, and this sounds weird. I would love for more sales,
No way.
I'd love for more sales. So I'm working on that, but then it's like, well, I get this anxiety, like, what if this gets out of hand? And then what if like we talked about, what if I stop loving it? What if it's like, oh, this is a chore. I have like 15 orders and I don't know. That's what I'm still trying to figure out.
Yeah.
So
do you think there's any world in which you could love the demand?
Well, it's funny because I was sitting in the car before I came in here. And I was like, what if, because I had that same thought, like, what if it gets out of hand? How can I, because ultimately I don't want to hire someone to do the stitching because that's what I love doing the most, or doing the building. Right. So it's like, where else can I, and I don't know, I thought about that when I pulled up, and I think I could if I had a team. And even walking in here, it's like working as a team, you need a team to make something successful. So I'm still trying to iron that out, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope you don't mind me pressing in.
No, please. No.
I mean, this is what I love to do. And I love to question the stories that we have around things.
Yeah.
For the sake of what else is possible, how good could it get?
Yeah.
Right. And it's not that I have some sort of desire for you to be like, going gangbusters and making this into a huge business or anything. I'm just always interested in what about my current thinking is holding me back, or what is, or is there something new or possible? And I just wanted to check in because most of the beliefs that we've created because of something that we've seen outside of ourselves. Like, my guess is either you've turned something into a business, or you've worked at something or sold something that you love doing and it turned it for you, or you, I won't even use that label. I'll say, you related to it differently, because I'm all about personal ownership.
Right.
And how we relate to something is the reality that it creates.
Right.
Right. So I'm sitting here going, well, I wonder how Invictus could relate to this thing, where, if you want to, where, you could make some really good money doing it.
Yeah.
And still just love it. Because I think it's possible.
I would love that. I mean, to be honest, and I think, it's cool. And again, you're not pressing me at all. And I know we're just getting to know each other, but you could roast me into the earth. Like, I only think the way that my mind thinks. And it's like, I don't know the things that you know about. And it's, I have goals, and it's just like, with one mind on like managing something, and having another mind is so helpful, because you might see things around a corner, or you might have an experience that I don't have, and I'm still learning. And I would love to. My anxiety, I think, solely is I don't want to stop loving this. Mm-hmm. And maybe it shows with how passionate I am about it. That's my fear. And so I've kind of set up these parameters where if I'm going to stop, if this line is me not loving this anymore, then I'm not going past that line. But if there's something good on that side, how can I get there, like you said, and still love it? And I mean, we can talk about that later, but I'm not opposed to, I guess I should retract. I'm not opposed to making a living off of this, so long as I still love it the same.
Yeah, got it.
So.
What is it that you love about? Have you identified what it is that you love about? I mean, I think we've talked a little bit about it, but like succinctly, can you state what you love about it?
Just the old school kid in me, like when I started, like me and my brothers building Legos.
Yeah,
it's like 1 brick, 2 brick, 3 brick. Oh man, this is a house. We did this, bro, guys. Like we got it. And like crafting, building something that you can use. I'm very passionate about shoes, from skateboarding and whatnot, and I love being crafty, but making things with your hands that you can use and that people can pass down to their kids, and wallets and all this stuff. Just all the intricacies about it, and the problem solving. I love it. Like that's, hopefully that answered the question.
Yeah, totally. My encouragement to you is to get very, very clear on that, right?
Yeah.
So even now you're still, even in the conversation, you're exploring a little bit, right?
Yeah.
As I ask you the question, did you feel that? Like,
Yep.
or at least that's what I made up.
I felt
about
it. Yeah.
So you're still exploring, you know you love it, but you haven't actually defined what it is that you love about it. My encouragement to you is get that defined very, very clearly and on paper, and somewhere you can see every single day.
Yeah.
What do I love about this? So that no matter what happens, when you get wildly successful, right? Because millions of people watch or listen to this podcast, and then everybody wants you. No, I'm just kidding.
Nah,
But you know what I mean? As
Yeah.
you get wildly successful, or the opportunity, you can maintain that. There's always a way to maintain that. And that's one thing. I work with so many business owners on a daily basis who had such a deep love for what they did, and then they chose to relate to it a different way. And I use that language very intentionally. They chose to relate to it in a different way that they didn't love. And so part of the group, or part of the work we do, is getting back to choosing to love this part of this thing, but we have to define. Part of the problem was they lost it because they hadn't defined it so clearly. Right. And so that definition of clear and that clarity, anybody listening to this, I would encourage them, whatever you're doing right now, stop, go define what it is that you love so that you're clear on how to keep it.
Yeah.
You can't keep or maintain or produce or create anything you're not clear about.
Right.
And even with the shoes, you talked about a pattern. You get a pattern to have clarity around the build. Same sort of thing here is like, get clarity on the pattern. What is it that you want to follow, the aim? What do you love about it? And then maintain that no matter what happens around it. Yeah. It's like, I think about like actors and singers, or there's just some people that have achieved wild success in their thing, and they still seem really grounded. Mm-hmm. And they still seem like they love it. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. And yet they're making millions, and it's taxing and it's challenging. And I'm just like, they are clear about what they love about it, and they have purposely maintained that through. So tell me what's currently challenging you?
Gosh, failure really. And like we talked about earlier, mistakes I'm like, I want to, kind of like we talked about, I don't want to spend all this time and then get to the end and then, I made a mistake. And so that's where focus comes into play. Another big thing is still trying to hone in on the time management, a family, spending that time, taking breaks, because I can just run myself ragged. 14 hours, if I have a free day. Hey, babe, do you guys need me? No, I'm good. I'm in, and so just being human is another one. So those things are definitely challenges for me, and just focusing on calibrating and regulating that. So,
what's on the horizon for you? What's in the future? What do you see?
As far as leather crafting?
Whatever.
Just continuing to provide for my family, hopefully growing this. I have some ideas for 2024, more showing my face, videos, hint, nudge, nudge. So we'll see how that turns out. But I love everything you've taught me just in this interview, and a different way of approaching these things mentally. It's huge. It's huge to, like you said, clearly define that. It's like an aha moment. That's the thing. It's like, I've been doing this for a long time, but can I clearly define like what I love about it and stick to that? So that way, when it gets all wavy, I'm still grounded in what I want to be doing. So.
What are the plans for 2024? Can you talk about them?
So I'll just talk about them. I want to really hit YouTube hard, and not hard like crazy bullet hard, but in this process of showing my shoe process, it's like I can expand on this and I can share this process with people. And I think one of the great things about showing a process is someone looks at a marathon or building a pair of shoes and they're like, there's no way I could do this. And what I want to deliver is, hey, you can. This is just step by step. Take a little bite, a little piece, and you compile it together, and it's your pair of shoes. It's your marathon. It's your home that you built. And it's just empowering because people are like, oh, I get DMs. Oh, that's how you do that. Dude, thank you so much for sharing this. I was scared. That's how you do that. So I don't know if this is transitioning into like a coaching and teaching people, but I'm just going with it naturally, you know? So
why do you want to, that was another thing you said, is like showing your face more, talking more. Why do you want to do that? What's the aim for you?
Connection. I know with social media, it's very easy to just, especially in our crafting in the industry, it's like people see your products, but who are you? You know? Mm-hmm. And people want to relate, like, oh, he has kids. Oh, he plays with his kids. Oh, like, oh, he's a person. He's not a bot, you know? And like, people don't buy the product, they buy you. And I learned that a couple months ago. And it's just loose, and it helps me loosen up. Because I'm like, oh, this has to be picture perfect, and this has to be, no, they just want authenticity. They don't want you to be a robot. Mm-hmm. You know, they want that relatability. So
yeah, it's interesting. I mean, pretty clearly the trend has gone from people buy things to people buy things that people make.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Or the people that make them, even if it's not handcrafted, you know, all of that sort of, they want to see the human being behind.
Yes.
Who had this idea? Why did they have it? What is their passion about? What gift do they want to give to the world? So I think your idea of getting yourself out, and you're so well spoken too. You're so articulate. Thanks. You got great ideas. I've really, really enjoyed this conversation with you. I love what you're up to. This thing, I mean, I'm just learning so much from you even now, and just reminding myself that I want to craft something meaningful. I want to craft like my own version of hand stitching my work.
Right.
Like being back in that. And I'll tell you, man, I'm so grateful to have you here.
Yeah. And thank you. Thank you for, I'm a big podcast guy, and I've gotten to the point of watching podcasts on YouTube and skateboarding stuff. And I wonder, like, gosh, I wonder what they go through. And like, it's just a privilege that you took the time to invite me and just share a little bit about, you know, what I'm doing.
Of course, man. It's not the last time. I can't wait to have you again.
Yeah, that would be great.
When these shoes are, you know, all over the world.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
Invictus, thank you so much, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.